So thanks for coming down, DJ Emmanuelle. You're also known as Marianne Golden to your friends and family, and you have a few other DJ names as well that you play under. Or
That's correct. It's kind of hard to pick one and stick with it, but I did used to go by DJ Superjew. It's a little bit of a high calling, so I kind of brought it down to just embodying one of the great softcore porn films of French film history. I felt like that was a bit more doable for me as a public person.
Sure. So tell us how you got the name DJ Emmanuelle then, as you're sporting on your T-shirt today.
Well, the great thing about names is you can give them to yourself. So this was thankfully a name I gave to myself. I say thankfully because I think in the context of what the name means, if the name was given to me, there could be some issues there.
Sure.
So I kind of like just going out and claiming boisterous names, kind of like my last one, which I'm a little bit embarrassed of now. So maybe in 5 years I'll be kind of embarrassed of this one. But I kind of feel like if my name doesn't embarrass me a little bit, like I'm not trying hard enough. So I'm a fan of ribald French cinema. Emmanuelle's one of the better known kind of skin flicks that's still within acceptable discussion about film. There's a lot of film in the film. It's not just this, it's not just an X movie, but it was definitely marketed as such. Like it was kind of like France's answer to Deep Throat. Okay. So Emmanuelle essentially is the erotic personification of a story about colonization. It's based on a book that takes place in, French Indochina, and it's all about essentially Emmanuelle, the anti-virgin, who wants to throw down the restraints of monogamy, and so she kind of explores the world philosophically through free love.
Sounds a little bit like you, maybe.
Well, I'm a little bit more boring.
Oh, I don't agree with that at all.
Or at least on this recording.
Okay, so today is Saturday after Thanksgiving. We had obviously we all ate a lot. Hopefully, did you have any memorable dishes that you ate for Thanksgiving, or did you eat anything traditional? Or
I kind of tried to restrain myself, but I did have a fair amount of pecan pie. I think I ate almost a whole pecan pie all to myself. Wow, okay. That was probably my highlight.
So I'm guessing you're a sweet person over savory?
Yeah, okay. I'm a sweet person.
Do you like to cook at all?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have any favorite go-to dishes that you like to cook?
I like to cook French, and I also like to cook kind of like Thai Indian. So a lot of curry, a lot of like masalas. I kind of nerd out with the herbs and the spices, and I like buy them all online and toast them and all that stuff. French food, obviously, like I definitely like to make some soufflés and potato dishes, gratin dauphinois, some pan sauces. But I prefer to kind of go to France.
Right. You spent some time in France, right?
I did.
Quite a while, actually, a few years. Or
did they give you my record before this interview?
I've just heard word on the street, but you studied something there. I'm not exactly sure. You were studying French film.
I was studying French sociology, but pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
For a couple years, or?
Yeah, for a couple years.
And is that where you kind of honed your French cooking skills, or?
Not at all. No, I mean, I had a totally different lifestyle when I lived there. I was kind of a like academic gutter person. Like I didn't have any money, so I was a little bit of I don't know, a rapscallion, I guess you could say. I guess what I'm trying to say is I wasn't at home so much that I cooked at home all the time. Like I definitely cooked, just to save money, but it wasn't that kind of cooking where you have nice cookware and you invite people over all the time. It was more of like I have to eat and maybe people will come over and then we have to go somewhere. But there was some cooking. It just wasn't of a very high caliber. It was mostly survival food. But so Marseille is where I lived, and it's pretty easy to get good ingredients cheaply there if you're not super picky about what you're getting. So a lot of vegetables, zucchinis, peppers, I mean, kind of any kind of fish that you could want. There's like 20 or 30 kinds of fish that you can buy at the market there for nothing. It's kind of blown up as a gastro scene, and I've actually, since I've been back, I've partaken in that a lot more than when I lived there. When I lived there, I was more partaking in like weird parties and not paying for the train and like hitchhiking and stuff like that.
Nice. Okay. But because you've been at this for quite a while here in Seattle and around the country.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I started in the aughts in Seattle and was active for about 10 years. And then when I left to move to France, I, kind of paused. I had to sell my gear. So I was going there for different reasons. And then when I came back, I picked it up again and then got gear. So I think this time I probably won't drop playing records. It might go the digital route, which will really pain me because vinyl is a really big part of like
Absolutely.
my life.
Well, speaking of vinyl, we have you in the store today to play some records, and you're really known for your obscure French records. And I've been to a few of your shows at Revolver and other gigs that you played around town. And I'm really curious to hear what you have to play tonight. And you brought a few records tonight, and I was just hoping you could talk a little bit about these. I don't recognize any of the artists, so hopefully you can tell us a little bit about what you brought today.
Yeah, totally. Happy to do so. So back up a little bit. So this is a Versatile Records comp. I like Versatile a lot because it's kind of like classic French house disco. It's like,
okay.
Yeah, like iCube's a really, really big part of that clique. So Zombie is kind of why I got the album, but I'm definitely a fan of Jean Cravache as well. Zombie is a bit of like a top, I don't know, it's like in my top 5. I'm obsessed with Etienne Jomé, obsessed with Zombie. Like it's kind of the whole, synth, like John Carpenter kind of vibe that's coming back everywhere. And there'll be a little bit of a thread here of that. So I'm definitely interested in that like overlap between synth and deep house and prog and for lack of a better word, tropical house, which has become really big with like Polo and Pan and all those guys. So this is a fun comp. The Zombie song is actually a cover of Blue Monday, which I don't feel too dirty playing because it's like 2 steps beyond, but that's actually not the one I'm going to play tonight. But I like that record a lot. We'll skip over here for a second. This I'll explain in a second. So Blackmail, and this is, by the way, on this label Gonzai, which is kind of like the Vice magazine of France. But they really focus on, it's like music and film culture. Like they don't go out of those too much. Like sometimes they talk about society and, just like current events, but generally they kind of stick to music. So they have a label, Blackmail. I think this is their first or second release on the label. This is a soundtrack to Amore Synthétique, which is an indie film that just came out, I think in September or October. The plot of the film is just kind of funny and fancy. It's like a personification of a synth and a woman that falls in love with this personification of a synth, whose name is Antonio. And I just, like, anytime I see anything by Blackmail, I get it. So I didn't even know what it sounded like. And of course, it's freaking amazing. Like the loops and the patterns and the phrases are just like a tiny little bit off. And that's kind of what I look for. I look for something that's like off enough, but not so off that it just becomes noise. Well, which is fine. And there's like tons of really good like French and Belgian and Swiss like noise and, musique concrète and all that stuff that I like absolutely love. I just can't really play it out because still kind of looking for a way to mix it in with, the stuff that people kind of can chill to. Right. So anyway, that's a really great album all around. This is a really early one by Essaye Pas, which is the duo of Murray Davidson. 45 minutes. Yeah, and it's kind of fun. It's got some nice moire.
Our viewers can see that, but it's interesting little. Yeah.
I guess it's worth some money, but I still play it out.
Looks like it could be. Now, did this come inside or?
So it's like in a plastic sleeve, and then you're just like supposed to kind of. There should be like a holder. or something. Yeah. And they are very naughty. They do one side 33, one side 45. Of course.
Right.
But
And
it's
they probably don't label their
they do. I'll give them credit for that. Anyway, Essepa is like one of my top as well, and they've got that Montreal minimal techno sound that has become more and more pervasive. I think that album's from 2010.
Okay.
So it's been around for a bit. But yeah, that's like a classic Essepa album. And then a little bit of a departure on the next album. So this is Calypso Valois, first, actually, I should say full length. So her claim to fame is she's the daughter of Ellie and Jackno, who are like the founders, I don't know. Jackno, you could say, is the founder, but Ellie and Jackno are like the quintessential couple of French electro. So they were active in like the late 70s, early 80s. They used to play in a band called the Stinky Toys, which was not electronic at all.
Great band name. Not familiar, but
yeah. Yeah, definitely kind of that like Ramones vibe. So they played with the Sex Pistols in, I want to say 78 or 79 in a show in London, and that's how they got discovered.
Sure.
So long story short, Ellie Medeiros has her own solo career. Jackno was this really famous French producer who produced Etienne Dao and Leo, a little bit of Taxi Girl. He's kind of worked with everyone. I think later in life he worked with Stereo Total. So his daughter, I don't know how recently she got into music. I think maybe she had a musical practice, but she just didn't want to go public with it. I mean, I think in France, there's a lot of daughters and sons of famous people who also are musicians. So I think maybe she was waiting for it to mature. And it's a really, really great album. I mean, there's a lot of like French chanson on it, but there's also some really great disco tracks and kind of more poppy dance tracks. But they're like, when I collect French music, try to get away from just, easy to listen to pop. Like, I just don't want anything that's that easy to listen to. I know that sounds kind of pretentious, but
I'm the same way.
But yeah, like there has to be a petting against the grain. Mm-hmm. Like I have to kind of hate it a little bit when I hear it first for me to love it later. Yeah. So it's not like I hated outrightly anything of hers, but it has kind of like a drawn out, like you're playing a record on the wrong speed, kind of like you're playing a 45 on a 33 kind of vibe. That kind of had to grow on me a little bit, but I really dig it, and it's really well produced. I think Etienne Dao helped her produce it. Actually, he's been kind of a mentor of hers. And then this is just I just think this is kind of fun. This is just like an issue of Gonzai that came out recently. That's like all the underground scenes of France in the paradigm of the male genitalia.
Well, I'm down with that for sure. I might have to look at that later.
It's kind of cool. all the secret info is right there.
Well, it's a good thing I studied French for 3 years, but don't remember much of it. So
it'll come right back to you.
I'll have you interpret for me. But thanks for the brief interview and getting this kicked off. Looters Records is proud to present DJ Emmanuelle, who's going to play a 3-hour vinyl set. And let's get started. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.